So here I am at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Yard with a bunch of engines and a bunch of things. Railroad cars, everything. Even a turntable. Oh, look at that. So, of course, it's standard gauge. Got the railway crane, which is really nice. Really nice. Oh, just gonna turn around on the turntable. Better get this. Looks like I gotta walk on over. Let me go get some. I'll go get a picture for y'all viewers. And as you can see, there's a rail. That's how they move it, in case you didn't know. Gonna move. Just gonna stand there.
I get it because they can't turn around. I wonder how they move.
Well, if you wanna skip ahead, I just can.
I bet how much
Thing over there, don't know what that's.
Alright, folks, welcome to East Chattanooga. I do want to emphasize once again, because I saw something I didn't really like. Please do not climb or let your kiddos up on a train. That is very dangerous. We don't want you to do that, please.
Safety lecture, all that.
Alright, folks, welcome to East Chattanooga. We had a good time so far?
Yeah.
Alright, 7 people are having a good time. We're having a good time.
Yeah.
Alright, 7 plus 2 more, I think. Well, that's alright, folks. Welcome to East Chattanooga. This is quite literally the end of the line. I want you guys to look down at your feet. See that yellow line? Stand behind it. Take one big step. One more big step. Now one more big step because I told you so anyway. There you go. Well, folks, what we're going to do here is we're going to put this locomotive on this here turntable, spin it around 180 degrees for our return trip to Grand Junction. I want to see a quick show of hands. How many have ever seen a turntable before? Not at a disco party. Fair enough. Well, after today, every single one of you will be able to say that you've seen a turntable and a turntable in operation. Our table here was built new in 1916 by the American Bridge and Iron Company of Amherst, Pennsylvania, for the Central of Georgia Railroad, the same Central of Georgia that our passenger cars share their heritage from. Our table here is our table here is 80 feet long and it weighs 80 tons. Who here knows how heavy 80 tons is? How heavy is that? What do you say?
Heavy.
Heavy? Yeah, you're walking home. But actually, it's about 160,000 pounds. But she's right, 80 tons is heavy. But it will surprise you to learn that this turntable was built as a strong arm table. That meant on either end of the table would have been a pair of poles, would have required the use of 4 strong men to spin this turntable with a locomotive on top of it. And that meant they were spinning in excess of 80 tons. We'll talk about that exactly where we're spinning today. But as you'll see here in a minute, turntables are important to the operation of steam locomotives. That is because a steam locomotive is built facing forward. They could go backwards if you wanted to, but thanks to the large tender behind it, which hauls the fuel and water for the steam engine, visibility going backwards is practically null and void. They were also expensive to maintain and repair and often needed a crew of at least 2 or 3, engineer or 2 firemen at most, to operate safely in one 12-hour shift. Because of that, they were very hard on the railroad, and then came the 1930s and 40s, and with it came that. That is what I'm pointing at, is a diesel-electric locomotive. When the railroads began to experiment with diesel-electric locomotives, they realized how much quicker and safer they were to repair and to run. They also saved money on payroll because instead of having a crew of 2 or 3 on a steam engine, all you need is an engineer, a crew of 1 in the diesel. And when they designed these locomotives, they kept visibility in mind. Engineer Jim up there, if he wants to go backwards, all he has to do is turn his head. He can go backwards all day long. We don't have to use this turntable, but we're going to do it for you anyway, just so we can show you, and because we can. Now, we'll talk about this here for a real quick second, though. Tag 80, when it's fully loaded with diesel fuel, comes in at 120 tons. So that means when we plop it on this here turntable, we'll be spending about 200 tons total. We're going to do that with our 25 horsepower electric motor that conductor Andrew is going to be using to turn the engine, so we're not going to ask for any volunteers. Now don't worry about me or Andrew though, because the electricity in that motor cannot pass through a bad conductor. That was a bit of a delayed reaction, but that's okay. Now Tag 80 is technically one of our youngest engines in our collection, having been built in 1968 by the Electric Motor Division of General Motors as a high hood GP38 for the Tag Railway. Now what does that high hood mean? Look on the very front of the engine, it has a high hood. The nose of the locomotive is flush to the very top of the engine. A lot of railroads opted to have a chop nose locomotive, so that meant the hood was only about half as high, but the Tag requested to have a high hood to match the Southern Railways. They had high hoods as well. This locomotive could produce up to 2,000 horsepower, and this locomotive only saw service on the Tag for 3 short years. To pick up on that. Now you may have noticed on the cab it has a name, the John A. Chambliss. Who is John Chambliss? John Chambliss, he was the vice president of the Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia Railroad. And when they acquired this engine in 1968, they dedicated it to him on his 80th birthday. Now once again, folks, please stand behind the yellow line, please. Behind the yellow line, thank you, sir. Yeah. Now again, after 3 short years, the Southern Railway would come to acquire the Tag, its entire railroad from Chattanooga to Gadsden, Alabama. And that meant that number 80 became the Southern Railway 2879. This locomotive would continue to operate as number 2879 until the 1990s. In 1982, the Southern Railway, the Norfolk and Western would merge to create Norfolk Southern. This engine continued to operate under Norfolk Southern until, like I said, the late 1990s. The locomotive was retired, put in storage, and sold at auction. The people that won it at auction was the Chambliss family. The very same family of John A. Chambliss. They acquired the locomotive and turned around and donated it to us here at TVRM. And following a many-year restoration in 2017, we finally had us an operating Tag 80. Make sure you weigh the jib up there, otherwise he won't be taking us home today. But like I said, this is a diesel electric. What does that mean? Right behind the cab there is a diesel engine, and that engine is spinning an electric generator. That is powering 2 very important things. First thing is the air compressor. Our locomotives brakes operate on air pressure because stopping is just as important as going. And the other part of electricity is sent down to the wheels right here, the traction motors. That is what propels our locomotive forward and reverse. Now we're going to line our locomotive up on track 2, and I'll explain why here in just a second. Alright folks, here's what's going to happen. Look down that way. That's your pasture train you came riding on, sitting pretty up on track 1. We lined the locomotive up on track 2. We're not going to push you back, we're going to pull you back. What's going to happen is Andrew and Jim, they're going to go down to the very end of track 2. Andrew's going to throw a switch that will allow the locomotive to traverse from track 2 to 1. Throw the switch again, reverse into our train, pull us back to Grand Junction. Now we're going to take our tour one more spot. We're going to go all across 8 tracks to the large white building over there. That's our back shop. Before we go though, just another quick reminder, please stay on the pavement, and please do not climb and let your kiddos on any piece of equipment here. If you want to head back to the train at this time, you are more than welcome to. Otherwise, back shop tour, please.
Okay, subscribe.